Hi, it's Giffen Levates here, and quite a few people have asked me how I make the thumbnails for my YouTube videos. So I thought I'd put together a short tutorial because it's not that hard. All you need for it is the Gimp, which is available on Ubuntu and Windows and Mac, and also VLC. That's another piece of software that I use. It's a video player, and it has the feature built in that you can take a snapshot of a particular frame of a video. So we'll start off with the Gimp, and I've actually loaded a template in here. If you go and look under image properties, what you'll see is that it's 1280 pixels by 720 pixels, and that's the size of image that we're going to need. Now, I've also preloaded a logo here, the logo of my company. You can do the same thing there and just make a template, and then you don't have to repeatedly produce the same image again. It gives you a good starting point. And I make my template logo quite big. You see some templates, or rather some images, where it's pretty small and you can hardly see it at all. The thumbnail gets shrunk down in the end, so it's worth keeping everything big and bold. So that's the starting point. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a video file with VLC, and that should be up in a moment. There we go. And here's a video that I've recorded. Oh, and I've been talking. So I just want to capture a good image. So this is not great, but with VLC, when you hit space, it pauses, and then you can go to video. And at the bottom of the video menu, there's this take snapshot, and it then saves a picture. So that's now on my drive. And now what I can do is I can file open as layers, and I can go to that picture, and there it is. And now you see it's far too large and it's the wrong way around. So I'm working with this particular layer here. I'm going to go move it down below the logo and then transform, and we want to go 90 degrees counterclockwise to get me the right way up. And the second thing is that the size is far too big, so I'm going to scale it. And I've learned from experience that from my videos I need to scale it down by about 55% in order to get it to fit reasonably, and there you see. Now, it turns out when you import an image and you try to delete stuff from it, you don't get transparencies. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call it surround. You'll see why in a moment. And the key thing here is that you've got to have the transparency set on. So there we go with that. We'll drag that underneath, and I go back to my image. Now, this is probably the trickiest thing of the whole process. You take the Select Lasso tool and you cut the background out. So we'll cut that away like this. There we go. And you don't have to be too accurate because, as I said before, it gets shrunk down. I'm going to zoom in a bit because I like to grab the edge of my glasses and this little bit here just for fun. I don't bother tracing all the wispy bits of hair that stick out. So up we go, around here, keep going round. Now, more professional video makers would, hold on, let's shrink it back down again, would probably speed this bit up, but you'll see it's pretty fast. Just roughly click around where you are, hop, down here, and finally reconnect the dot. So now it's my head that's selected. So I need to go to Select, Invert. There it is. And now when I hit Delete on my keyboard, everything is removed. But you see there's that white bit. So I need to merge down to that previous surround layer I made. And now when I hit Delete, you'll see we get transparency. So that's the first thing solved. I'm going to make another new layer in order to get the white border that they always put. So there's that one, drag it underneath. And now I'm going to select Invert again, and I'm going to grow. And again, I know from experience that if I grow the selection by about 8 or 9 pixels, it looks pretty good. So now I've got an extra bit around my head, and I'm on the layer beneath my head. So I can now go to the bucket fill and Make sure I've got white. And there we go. Click, and it's filled this bit. I'll turn off my head so you can see I've now got that white silhouette around my head. And that bit's now done, and I can just merge it down. And then I can go to the Move tool and move myself off to the corner. If you drag it down, you'll find you didn't delete some of the bits there. So we need to get rid of the select none. And then we want the eraser, which is this tool here. And we can just get rid of that there. Okay, so now I've got my head, I've got my company logo, and now I want to have a slogan or a caption or something. So I'm going to do it in black, and I'd like to do it with Impact, which appears to be a font I haven't got installed here, so we'll just go with whatever is available there. Typically, you'll see that YouTube videos have Impact as their font or something like that. This should be fine though. So let's pick a title. Let's say I was doing a video on the Pi network, so I might come up with a title, snappy title like "To Pi" or "Not to Pi." There we go. I'm going to select all that and make it a bit bigger. It looks like it might be better if I could make it a bit bolder as well. So that's the text. It's good. I'm going to go and select using select by color, and we'll select all that black stuff, and then we'll grow that. So using the same technique here, make it a bit bolder. That's too bold. So we'll undo grow selection. We're only going to grow it by a couple of pixels to make it a little bit bold, but not too bold. Up, there we go. And I'll fill it in. Yeah, so now we've got a bold bit of text, and we want to get the same white surround on that. So I'm going to make another layer with transparency, drag it underneath, and this time we're going to grow it by, say, another 9 pixels, like with my head. Switch color, go to fill, and fill it in, and there we are. Now we have white around it, so that makes it stand out nicely. And again, I'm going to merge the two texts down so that it's in one layer. Get rid of the select, and we can move the text into a better position. Now, I think it looks quite cool if you can warp the text a bit. And so I'm struggling here because I'm on my second computer. On my other computer, I've gone back to the old fonts and not fonts, the old icons, and this has still got the new ones, which I don't think are as intuitive, and I certainly don't like the black and white. Maybe I'll do another video where I explain how you get back your old icons. So we can do a shear on that. And if I zoom back a bit, should, for example, be able to make it slant a bit. Make it go at an angle, for example. There's all sorts of tools you can use to make it look a bit different. Here's a unified transform one. This one allows you to do stuff like make a sort of film poster sort of text, and I can get it to not go over my head as well. So that's a useful one too. So there we are. That's got a sort of a Star Warsy kind of going off into the background, and drag them back into position. So now I've got my text, I've got my head, I've got my company logo. Finally, we need a background, and I typically go to pexels.com for royalty-free stock images. I put some of my own pictures up there as well because I kind of feel that that's paying it back. But let's open a picture that I downloaded earlier, and it's a picture of a pie by someone called Anna. Thank you very much, Anna. So there we go. Now the pie is too big. You can see it here as a layer, and it's also blocking everything else. So we'll drag it to the bottom. I don't want a whole bunch of fruit behind my head. I'd like to actually be able to see the pie. So again, we can go to scale layer, and I think we'll take this one down to say 45%. And there, now we have a pie in the background, which seems suitably appropriate. Move it around to a nice position. And then finally, because I don't want the background to overwhelm the foreground, we can go to colors, and we can take brightness and contrast, and we can make it a little bit dimmer like that. So it's a hint in the background. And then there's all sorts of other fun things you can do with color as well. You can go to hue and chroma, for example, and then you can mess around with the color of the pie. So if you want to have an alien pie, there we go, or sort of blue and purple one. And maybe we can make it pop a little bit more by selecting that. So these are kind of things you can do with it. Anyway, so now I've got my picture. And then finally, we need to go to export as, and I want to export it as a JPEG. Give it, I've still got a caps lock on from when I did the caption, and let's call it pie. And then export. It's taking a moment. And now I have a pie.jpg, and I'll drag that in from my other screen. And here you go, a YouTube thumbnail using the classic head and text in a bold font and some kind of image in the background, plus your logo in the corner. And this is what you can then select and upload to YouTube, and it shrinks it down quite a bit, and that hides any of the things like, for example, my ear being slightly cut off here. And that's also why you need to make the text big, because when it's in YouTube, it'll end up being, say, about that big or even smaller. But there you go. That's how you make these YouTube thumbnails. You can have a go yourself, try some of the other features on the art package experiment. Maybe you want to go and mess around with the background, make it swirly, or use some kind of psychedelic colors or stuff like that. That's also popular. But it's good fun, and once you've done it 3 or 4 times, I find I can do the whole thing from start to finish in about half the time it's taken to make this video. That's it for today. Hope you found it useful, some of you, and see you in the next video soon. Bye for now.